What's up everyone, it's ENDYMION, and recently Variety released a massive article that burns the facade around the Marvel Cinematic Universe in some damning ways. It turns out the MCU at Disney is in much worse shape than we thought. And it's gotten so bad that Marvel and Disney are finally unable to hide the fact that the House of Mouse is in shambles. And Mickey Mouse's Avenger friends are burning money faster than ever before. The article that's blown up the internet is titled "Crisis at Marvel, Jonathan Majors Backup Plans, the Marvel Reshoots, Reviving Original Avengers and More Issues Revealed," and the article is written by Tatiana Siegel, who does a really good job at framing all of this as well. The first major problem here is of course Marvel's big villain in Kang the Conqueror, who I personally feel doesn't hold a candle to Thanos. Kang, as you know, is played by Jonathan Majors. And he's had a very public case going around about him where he's being accused of domestic violence. Because of this crazy scenario, it's led Marvel's top dogs to panic, and according to Variety, these executives gather every year to go on a retreat. Which is rich people talk for a paid vacation by the studio where they get to drink expensive stuff, eat the best food, and laugh because they make so much money. While that yearly retreat might have been like that in say 2016 or 2019, this retreat was laced with panic and desperation. Because Disney's Marvel movies are not making the same return on investment as they did before. This apparently had Marvel considering replacing Kang with Doctor Doom as their big bad. Which makes even less sense since the Fantastic Four haven't even been introduced yet. So to have their biggest villain in Doom be used like an emergency diaper as Marvel uncontrollably shits itself would be a missed opportunity. One of the other huge acts of desperation according to Variety is that the MCU is in such shambles that they've considered making an Avengers movie with the original cast returning. Which of course would mean Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Johansson's Black Widow would be resurrected via the gobbledygook that is the multiverse. I know this is comic books, but this is movies that we're talking about, and having characters who are dead definitively be brought back in order to garner interest just proves how dire things are over there. Plus, what the hell would the original Avengers be doing in this supposed revival movie? In Marvel's eyes, it wouldn't really matter. As long as they could slap Downey Jr.'s name on the poster, they know it'll bring butts into seats, which, let's be real, it would. But that's because Iron Man, Captain America, and the OG's presence is synonymous with the quality the MCU was known for, or at least used to be anyway. Bringing them back now, a mere 5 or 6 years later, wouldn't be for any other reason than that Disney is desperate. And their reliance on Z-list characters like Ms. Marvel, who by the way, Marvel has been trying for years to become their next Spider-Man. Yeah, I know, Ms. Marvel of all things, but it's true. And you have upcoming stinkers like The Marvels, which is projected now to earn incredible Hulk levels of box office at release. Which means The Marvels is actually going to be the worst opening for an MCU movie ever. And for good reason. Because it represents everything audiences don't want from these movies. You have a bunch of characters nobody likes, and in order to understand what's going on, you have to do homework. Like watching stinkers such as Secret Invasion and shows where nothing happens like Ms. Marvel. Also, you can understand the nonsense unfolding when you watch The Marvels and pay money in order to see it yourself. What's also bizarre is apparently the director of The Marvels, whose name is Nia DaCosta, just straight up left Disney's editing room before the movie was finished. The director is already in London preparing for her next movie called Hedda. And the post-production of The Marvels isn't even being overseen by the person who directed the damn movie. Variety had someone who worked on The Marvels tell them, if you're directing a $250 million movie, it's kind of weird for the director to leave with a few months to go. That is super weird. She knows it's a flop, and it further shows how studio interference is removing any semblance of a director's touch when it comes to these movies. And weirdly enough, when they do allow directors to add their personal flair, you end up with Multiverse of Madness and stuff like the Guardians trilogy. All those movies made a lot of money, and they felt unique at least. Madness was definitely somewhat of a mess, but at least I could tell that it was directed by Sam Raimi. Whereas slop like Quantumania it looks like Spy Kids to me. Speaking of Quantumania and Kang, it doesn't help when people who are working at Marvel end up saying stuff like this anonymously. Marvel is truly screwed with the whole Kang angle, says one top dealmaker who has seen the final Loki episode. and they haven't had an opportunity to rewrite until very recently because of the WGA strike. but I don't see a path to how they move forward with him. The entire situation over at Disney is a dumpster fire, and I wouldn't be surprised if going forward, Disney never has a main overarching villain in their MCU who actually shows their face ever again. Every main villain will probably either be a big CGI guy like Thanos again, or someone like Doctor Doom so that they can hide their face. Because when you have Jonathan Majors' face plain to see and you have all of these charges waiting, it's going to cause problems. And for a company that's made over $30 billion over the course of 32 films, they will likely refuse to lose future money in order to prop up some promising actor again. The writer of this huge article also says the problem with the MCU didn't begin with Kang or Ms. Marvel. They said, and I quote, "Replicating that kind of phenomenon is never easy. However, the source of Marvel's current troubles can be traced back to 2020. That's when the COVID pandemic ushered in a mandate to help boost Disney's stock price with an endless torrent of interconnected Marvel content for the studio's fledgling streaming platform Disney+. According to the plan, there would never be a lapse in superhero fare, with either a film in theaters or a new television series streaming at any given moment. But the ensuing tsunami of spandex proved to be too much of a good thing, and the demands of churning out so much programming taxed the Marvel apparatus. Moreover, the need to tease out an interwoven storyline over so many disparate shows, movies, and platforms created a muddled narrative that baffled viewers." End quote. And dude, she's right. There has been too much content coming out, and the storylines must all interweave and connect and tease future things. Originally back in their golden era, each Marvel film felt deliberate and it felt like it was created as if there was an actual reason for it existing. Nowadays, it's just being made in order to fuel a failing streaming service that's just bleeding money. One analyst over at the Wall Street Journal also said, "The Marvel machine was pumping out a lot of content. Did it get to the point where there was just too much and they were burning people out on superheroes? It's possible. The more you do, the tougher it is to maintain quality. They tried experimenting with breaking in some new characters like Shang-Chi and Eternals with mixed results. With budgets as big as these, you need home runs." Yeah, Shang-Chi and Eternals were definitely not home runs for Marvel. Shang-Chi barely broke even, and Eternals, that was a woke flop. And apparently the Marvels was screened in Texas for a public viewing and the audience gave the film middling reviews, so yeah, that movie is a certified stinker. It's going to be glorious when it comes out. Also, the entire plot of that movie got leaked and nothing interesting happens, by the way. You can go read up on it if you want, but if you missed the movie, to be honest with you, you're not missing anything. According to Variety, the real magic behind Marvel's success has been Kevin Feige, who according to them, Kevin's real superpower, his genius, has always been in post-production, and getting his hands on movies and making sure that they finish strongly, the source adds. These days, he's spread thin. And saying Kevin is spread too thin is an understatement. As it turns out, Disney released movies like Quantumania that had scenes added at the last minute. They apparently were done half-assedly, and one person who worked closely on the film said anonymously, "There were at least 10 scenes where the visual effects had been added at the last minute and were out of focus," says one veteran power broker who was there. "It was insane. I've never seen something like that in my entire career. Everyone was talking about it. Even the kids of executives were talking about it." Then of course over at Disney you have Ike Perlmutter and Nelson Peltz trying to wrestle control over the company via a hostile takeover, which I already did a whole video about that, but now Disney's entire VFX team is assembling to unionize, which means Disney can't abuse them like they used to for years. As one Marvel Studios VFX coordinator said, "The year 2023 was the straw that broke the camel's back," says former Marvel Studios VFX assistant coordinator Anna George, who appeared before the Congressional Labor Caucus on October 19 to testify about the studio's untenable deadlines and working conditions. "The pay and long hours at Marvel were the reason we had to start our unionization process there. The conditions were completely unsustainable." Goddamn, dude, this article just keeps getting worse. They then explained that She-Hulk was a mess behind the scenes and had a $25 million budget per episode somehow. And if you watch that show like I did, unfortunately, where the hell did that money go? That budget, by the way, is higher than the final episodes of Game of Thrones. This has gotta be money laundering. Another anonymous person at Marvel blasted She-Hulk's quality and Kevin Feige by saying, "The so-called bad VFX we see was because of half-baked scripts," says one person involved with She-Hulk. That is not Victoria Alonso, that is Kevin Feige, and even above Kevin, those issues should be addressed in pre-production. The timeline is not allowing the Marvel executives to sit with the material. Even one of the co-authors of The Reign of Marvel Studios, which is a New York Times bestseller, said, "I'm not prepared to call a permanent fall, but based on the numbers that go with Marvel podcasts, Marvel-based articles, friends who do Marvel-based video coverage, all of these numbers are significantly down." Then we get to the part of this article that made my blood boil, which has to do with Mahershala Ali's Blade movie. This should be the easiest slam dunk for Marvel right now. You got a 2-time Oscar award-winning actor who's amazing at what he does. All you have to do is write a script where he kills vampires and he looks cool while doing it. But according to Variety, and this is insane dear viewer, they said, but the project has gone through at least 5 writers, 2 directors, and 1 shutdown 6 weeks before production. One person familiar with the script permutation says the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. Blade was relegated to the 4th lead. How the hell do you make Blade the 4th most important person in a movie called Blade? This means Marvel is still pushing for that nonsense previous version where Blade's daughter is apparently the main character, and she becomes a dark god by the end of the movie, and Blade stands by while watching the girls do all the fighting. The literal introduction to Blade into the MCU, and Marvel is already going full force as female, put a chick in it and make her lame pandering. You couldn't at least wait until the 2nd or 3rd Blade movie to introduce his daughter? You immediately have to ruin his introduction. What the hell kind of creative direction is that? To put that into MCU terms for you, let's look at the first Guardians movie. You got Peter Quill as your lead, Gamora is second, then Rocket, then maybe Drax. So that means Blade would be like Drax in terms of plot importance and amount of lines when compared to other characters. In a movie called Blade, not Blade and his amazing girl bosses. Bloody hell, Marvel is cooked, dude. It can't be this hard to make a Blade movie. Make it dark, badass, and get some Castlevania-esque vampire killing and you're good. Make him the main character and keep the movie focused solely on Blade, and that's it. Apparently they got the writer who did Logan now writing the movie, but the movie simply won't work unless Marvel makes it about Blade. God damn, I'm so annoyed over their fumbling of Blade. He's such a cool character too. Marvel and Disney's woes are honestly just proving South Park's Panderverse right. They can't help themselves at this point. They'd rather face annihilation and rot into the ground to become fertilizer than just give people what they want. We don't want a bladeless Blade movie. We don't want stuff like the Marvels or slop such as Echo. We want entertainment that respects the legacy of these characters and gives the viewer a chance at some much needed escapism. Like I've said in a previous video, escapism is very important. There's too much crap going on in the world today, and I know you know that it's oftentimes very difficult to ignore or turn away from the insanity of the world. You turn on the TV and you're bombarded with horrific news. These people died, someone was kidnapped, there's a war going on. It's all just constant bad news all the time, and it's eating away at you. Then you come online and people call you a bigot or God knows what else. That's why escapism is so important. We just want to rest and have ways to leave the real world for a second so that we can relax. But unfortunately for you and I, these companies cannot help themselves but push current day nonsense constantly. And that's why we can't have nice things. They are pushing this pandering nonsense and it's not working. Maybe bringing back the original Avengers would help Disney realize that pushing these Z-list characters won't work. Also, as I was making this video, Bounding Into Comics has posted an article about a new rumor that claims that Robert Downey Jr. has already agreed to come back to the MCU in order to bring the franchise back on track. This all comes from My Time to Shine Hello, who's a Twitter account that's been right in the past and has insider sources in the industry, so of course take that as rumor, but if it's true, that's big. I would love to see Iron Man again. I would love an Iron Man 4 over say Echo or Agatha Harkness. Which honestly, I still can't believe that's even a real thing. And as I was also writing this video, it turns out a former screenwriter who worked on a draft of Marvel's Blade has denied the rumors that Blade was relegated to a 4th lead. However, this writer, whose name is Michael Starbury, did say that if that script version exists, he simply doesn't know about it. because anything can change in Hollywood, and likely whatever version he worked on could have likely been taken and ripped apart by some woke weirdo writer, and what Variety stated is still unfortunately true. But at least when Starbury was writing his Blade script, he was in 99% of the scenes when he did it. But again, it could have very likely have been changed, and if it did, bloody hell dude, what the hell is going on over at Marvel? Anyway, for now, that's what's happening. Blade is in creative purgatory, being torn apart by feminists. The Avengers might return to course correct the woke nonsense. Jonathan Majors could be thrown to the wolves so Disney can save face. The Marvels is a certified slopfest that's going to ruin Marvel even further whether they wanted to or not. And Doctor Doom could become the next big bad, which is stupid and a waste since again the Fantastic Four aren't even here yet. Marvel's best case scenario, in my opinion, is to cancel all of these movies and the nonsense surrounding them. Get all hands on deck, make a Secret Wars movie, make it 3 hours long, and just creatively reboot the entire franchise and just start over. Because even though there's rumors of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man being the leads in Secret Wars, the truth is that what they're doing isn't working. Stop putting a chick in it and making her lame and gay. Stop pushing identity politics and get back to the basics of what made the MCU so good to begin with. Reboot it, and then you can start fresh with the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. Basically everybody is available from the get-go. You get people who actually care about these characters and aren't woke morons, and you make a franchise worthy of the character legacies that they're a part of. Or you can keep shilling out stuff like the Marvels, Echo, and Ironheart. It's your choice, Disney, but what you're doing isn't working. Hell, I would even help you guys write it if I could somehow get involved, but I'm probably blacklisted by Disney already, which is fine, because somebody has to say the quiet part out loud these days. Anyway, thank you for watching dear viewer, have a great day, and remember to take care of yourselves. Subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it, and use my G Fuel code if you want to. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next one.